right here. Cross that one out, Katie, and it'll be Michael uh, Short Shorting Bear, or is it Shorting Bear, like short ing bear,
Short?
short ing bear. Yeah,
So call both of them up and they'll come in.
yeah, they'll come and read Landers Fields. Amanda's gonna speak on behalf of the student association,
Okay.
and then you cross Tony out there and put Chris. Okay, where Leanne what time is it?
Facebook is live now.
Oh,
It was at 10:30. Can we announce everybody to go get ready for grand entry now?
yep. What time is it? Yeah, they can go to the back, I guess.
The participants to grand entry, please go to the west side there, the main doors, to get ready for grand entry. Thank you.
On this side.
Yeah, right here. I'll put right here. Laying a wreath. So I'll call you up, Sergeant Chris Bird. Laying a wreath on behalf of World War One, two veterans, and over there and then step back. Yeah, Roland, we'll hand it out to you. You can stop and walk that way. Ricardo's going to carry the eagle. Okay, the flag song, right? Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the First Nations University of Canada Indigenous Veterans Remembrance Day Service. This event is being live streamed to the First Nation University Facebook page. So as we're talking, don't check your phones. Today, we'd like to give the land acknowledgement of where we are. The Regina campus is located at Timcomisquisset Red Dog Urban Reserve, Treaty 4 territory, with our Saskatoon and Northern campuses are situated on Treaty 6 territory and homeland of the Métis Nation. This morning, a beautiful day for the ceremony. And I'd like to thank Elder Sidney Kay for lifting the pipe so that we have a great day today. And also why we're here to remember our veterans who have gone on, our veterans platoons who are getting thinner and thinner every day, every year when we come to the ceremonies. Now we have our young people standing up who are serving, whether it be in the Reg Force, reserves, to come here and honor that, because that would be what our veterans who have gone would want to do, to acknowledge this great day, because it floats down to freedom of where we are, what they fought for. So with that, I'd like to bring in the grand entry for this ceremony, and the drum group, the Eagle Claw Singers, bring a song to bring in the grand entry. Hi, boys.
opportunity.
Thank you, Eagle Claw Singers. At this moment, I'd like to introduce the color party. Flag and victory. Yeah. And now I'd like to introduce the color party. Carrying the Eagle staff, Ricardo Littleton from Coacatoos First Nation. The Saskatchewan First Nation veterans, the late Howard Anderson Eagle staff. I do believe that Ricardo has carried that. Yeah. Saskatchewan First Nation veterans, Eagle staff, Vice President Tracy Deserly from Piepot First Nation. The Canada flag, Assistant Commissioner Rhonda Blackmore, Commanding Officer, F Division. The Sask flag, Chief Evan Bray, Regina Police Service. The Métis flag, Sergeant Chris Bird, Gordon's First Nation. Yeah. First Nation Korean War Veterans Association, Eagle Staff, U.S. Navy, Dion Hassler from Carry the Kettle First Nation. Treaty 4 flag, carried by Corporal Nathan Morasti, Muscopheating First Nation. The Union Jack, carried by Clifton Goodwill from Standing Buffalo First Nation. And the Wounded Warriors flag of Canada, Private Kim Wayne Lone Child, White Bear First Nation. And the veterans who are here from the Indigenous communities surrounding Regina is U.S. Marine Corps Clinton Goodwill from Standing Buffalo, Tracy Desjardins, Vice President, Pie Pot, U.S. Navy Dion Hassler, Carry the Kettle First Nation, Private Angus Lee Desjardins from Coakatoos First Nation, Canadian Forces, and Sergeant Chris Bird, Regina Rifles, and Corporal Nathan Morasti. I'd also like to acknowledge Dr. Jacqueline Ottman from the FNUC, Dr. Jeff Keeshan, President, Vice Chancellor, University of Regina, Dr. Bob Casius, Vice President of Academics, Jason Wong, Vice President, Fitness Administration, President, Regina Student Association, Amanda Leader, Honorary Rep, Danielle Lumberjack, Honorary Rep, Michael Shorting Bear. At this time, I would like to call up Evelyn Maxi Poitra to come to the podium to sing the O Canada. Evelyn? Evelyn is from White Bear First Nation and has family from Sigagan Nakota Nation and Pipika Cree Nation. She is currently a grade 10 student at F.W. Johnson here in Regina.
Gaganatak, Gigano Gitaskino, Sagahitoin, Kicho Asimisak, Nete Henakipa Sekon, Gichegi Waitino. Ota oche neite isko kasi tuska dinan no tawinan gana wainitan gagana takne taskinan o ma Gagana takne daskinan dabwe.
Thank you, Evelyn. This time we'll play the last post. The Great War Quit, 11th day, 11th month, 11th hour, and we honor them. Thank you. I'd like to ask now the color party to please take their seats. And I'd like to call up Michael Shorting Bear and Danielle Lumberjack to come and say in Flanders Field. Michael Shorting Bear and Danielle Lumberjack, can you please come up here?
In Flanders fields, the poppies blow between. What am I supposed to do? In Flanders fields. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place. And in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly. Scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from falling hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders field. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael and Danielle. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge our police who are here. I'd like to acknowledge Chief Superintendent Ted Monroe from the RCMP, Inspector Dustin Ward, Officer in charge of Indigenous Policing Service F Division, Sergeant Major Stephen Archibald, Sergeant Major for F Division, Sergeant Donnie Cassie, Indigenous Policing Services, Regina F Division, RCMP Depot Division Training Academy, Superintendent Mike Loken, Sergeant Major Mike McGinley, Corporal Anne-Marie Gallup, and Corporal Larkin Cody. From the RPS, I acknowledge Chief Evan Bray, Inspector Laurel Marshall, Inspector Tim Seiferling, Corporal J.C. Winjack, Constable Frank Kovacs, Heather Shepard, Jeff Wagner, Inspector, and Deputy Chief Dean. So Deputy Chief Dean Ray. At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Jacqueline Ottman to the podium to provide a welcome and greetings. Dr. Ottman is the president of the First Nation University of Canada. Dr. Ottman.
Anina Deramaganak, Mizoek Magog Bepa Moteng Dezanakas, no chicken on Zeaning Dunji. Greetings, all my relations. My name is Mizoek Magog Bepa Moteng. And I originally come from Fishing Lake First Nation, Treaty 4 territory. And I would like to welcome everybody to this Veterans Remembrance Day ceremony here at First Nations University of Canada. And thank you, Jim Pratt, retired corporal from Regina Police Service. And I recognize and would like to acknowledge the reason that we're here today on Treaty 4 territory, and we are on Red Dog Urban Reserve, or at Timakimozit Red Dog Urban Reserve, and also the homeland of the Métis. I'd like to thank everyone here who is in attendance. Thank you to our association president, Amanda Leader, Michael Cram, President of Parliament, Regina Wascana, and President Jeff Keshen, and also our veterans, Tracy Digilay, on behalf of Saskatchewan First Nations Veterans Association, our RCMP Assistant Commissioner, Rhonda Blackmore, Commanding Officer, F Division, and thank you to Elder Sidney Kay for lifting the pipe in the ceremony early this morning. In addition, I'd like to thank Preston Littleton, Eagle Staff Carrier, and the Eagle Claw Singers for the honor song. And thank you, Evelyn Maxine Patra, for singing O Canada in Cree. That's always moving to hear some of these very important and critical acknowledgements in our languages. And we also have just so many people, as was mentioned today, people from representatives from RCMPF Division, and of course the veterans that were acknowledged today. Sacrifice. I want to really emphasize the importance and the sacrifice that our veterans have given so that we could experience freedom. And these are in the world wars, World War I, World War II, the Korean War. And I think of this on occasion because my daughter is she's a historian, and she's done research on World War I and World War II, especially in relation to the Indigenous participation in those wars. And our veterans, our Indigenous veterans, who are very young at the time, were willing to sacrifice their lives for us, so that we can continue experiencing freedom. And there are many reasons why Indigenous peoples left their homes to fight in a global battle. And today we experience many freedoms, and we need to continue commemorative events like this, because we cannot take freedom for granted. For us to have the kinds of choices and privileges that we experience on a daily basis is because there are people who are willing to sacrifice for those freedoms. And for those Indigenous veterans and warriors and soldiers who went overseas and fought a gruesome battle, they also sacrificed, in many cases, membership to their community. They were willing to give up memberships and community, in many cases, community relations in order to fight a battle that was for all of humanity. And I am so grateful for that. And once again, for us to consider a different reality if they didn't step up and really, be willing to give their life for our own. It is the ultimate. It's the ultimate form of sacrifice, and I would like to just. I hope that today and tomorrow you will take the time to remember and to be grateful. And so in terms of Indigenous participation, we've had Indigenous soldiers, nurses, civilians made significant contribution to the wars. And in the First World War, there was as many as 4,000 Indigenous soldiers that fought for Canada, and thousands more that were non-status. Our Métis people and Inuit people fought and enlisted in those battles. And with these populations, First Nation, Métis, Inuit, it's estimated that there's closer to 6,000 people that participated in those Indigenous peoples that participated in World War I. And 50 soldiers were decorated for bravery in these wars. And these warriors, as in all military service throughout time, were noted for their patience, their stealth, scouting skills, marksmanship, and code-talking abilities. In World War II, the sources may vary, but it's estimated that, again, there were over 4,000 First Nations soldiers that enlisted, with thousands more First Nations, Métis, and Inuit, and many without recognition. Many who served in World War II also went on to serve in the Korean War, and it's estimated that as many as 12,000 First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people served in wars in the 20th century. And the service continues today. Over the years, Indigenous soldiers have been deployed all over the world, from NATO duties and other multinational peace support operations in foreign countries throughout the world, including Afghanistan. Without these brave soldiers and warriors who volunteered despite the challenges they faced, leaving their families and communities, learning a new language, adapting to cultural differences, coping with racism and enfranchisement, we would not have the privilege or the freedoms we have today. And for that, I am once again very, very grateful. These soldiers and warriors have left an amazing legacy, one of endurance, strength, perseverance, which is Akamanamawin, hope for a better life, selfless service, and sacrifice. Sadly, many soldiers in service did not come home, and we mourn for you today. And as I mentioned earlier, let's take a moment throughout this day and days to come to reflect on our freedoms, to remember the service and sacrifice of Indigenous veterans and those that are in service today. Let us take time to learn their stories of bravery and courage. So the veterans who raised the flags or are laying wreaths this morning are Tony Larat, Dion Hassler, Clinton Goodwill, Marcel, I hope I say this right, Hichert, Christopher Bird, Angus Lee Desjardins, Nathan Rasti, Kim Lonechild. So I would like to once again thank you for attending this very, very important ceremony. Gitchimigwich.
There's one more person I'd like to acknowledge here from the RCMP is Amanda Perry. She came with the RCMP this morning. And also I'd like to acknowledge Member of Parliament Michael Cram, Regina Wascana House of Commons, and also President Keishan Luther College, just across the street from here. At this time, I'd like to call up Tracy Dejerly, Southern Representative of the Saskatchewan First Nation Veterans Association.
Tante kakiao e atam skatakuk mi wasin wa pamtakuk no tugwel keheo squel nit sikasun ni hiopat o chinia. Good morning, elders, veterans, service members, and First Nations of University of Canada educators. I'm proud to represent the Saskatchewan First Nations Veterans Association on Remembrance Day this year. Being a part of the Saskatchewan First Nations Veterans Association as the Vice President of the South Branch has enabled me to help and support our veterans. I am humbled to be here on behalf of the First Nations Veterans of Saskatchewan. And with that, I would like to read a quote from our FSIN Vice Chief, Dutch Leroy. Most benefits were denied to Indigenous veterans, and many died without compensation for their sacrifice and their war efforts. Today, our Saskatchewan First Nations Veterans Association veterans take every opportunity to educate the public of our warriors' sacrifices and give them the respect they so rightfully deserve. So, with that, I'd like to thank all the veterans, past and present, for their sacrifices, which have provided us all the freedom that we have today. And in closing, I'd also like to express much gratitude to the First Nations University of Canada for honoring our veterans today. Hi.
Next, I'd like to call up Chief Evan Brave from the Regina Police Service. Chief.
Well, thank you very much, Jim. Say good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. I would like to start by thanking Elder Sidney this morning, who lifted the pipe at 9 a.m. For those that were able to be here and participate in that pipe ceremony, you know it was a very, very moving ceremony. There was lots of important sharing that happened in there, and that was a very good way to start the day. And thank you, of course, to Roland, who always does such a good job. Also, would be remiss if I didn't thank Jim Pratt, our MC. As many of you know, Jim retired corporal from the Regina Police Service and my recruit trainer. So when I started policing, Jim trained me. And so for those of you that saw Jim kind of fumbling with papers up here and were surprised to see that, I wasn't. Jim didn't do paperwork. When I worked with Jim, I did all the paperwork, so I wasn't completely shocked to see that. Our Regina Police Service is very honored to be here on a regular basis, and thank you very much to the First Nations University of Canada for the invite. This is an important ceremony, an important recognition, and as Tracy talked about, it's an important recognition for our First Nation veterans and veterans of our country that fought for the freedoms that we enjoy today. And as I like to say every year, I think it's also equally as important for us to recognize the commitment for us that comes with attending and being Canadians today. Because our First Nation veterans fought side by side with all other veterans who fought in our wars. And our First Nation veterans came back to a country that for quite a few years didn't serve them and their families as well as they should have. We can recognize that and we acknowledge that, and we should show commitment to that sacrifice on behalf especially of First Nations veterans to make this country what it can be, a country free from bias and prejudice and racism. A free country is important, but a healthy country is even more important. That's our commitment today. That's my commitment to you, members of our police service that are here today and all others that are in attendance. This is a great country, but we're not free of problems, and we're not free of historical problems. We recognize that. By recognizing it, we can commit to doing better. And that's my commitment to you. On behalf of the men and women of the Regina Police Service, I would like to take this opportunity to humbly thank, with respect, all of our First Nation veterans, the families that are here today. My brother Jim Pratt, his dad, his late father, a veteran of the war, and that's an important thing to recognize. Truly honored and humbled to be here today with you. Hi, hi.
Thank you, Chief. At this time, I'd like to call up Assistant Commissioner Rhonda Blackmore, Commanding Officer, RCMP Division.
Thank you. Good morning. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we're gathered here today is Treaty 4 territory and the homeland of the Métis. It's a privilege to gather here as a community to honor the contributions of the many Indigenous men and women who have served and continue to serve with great pride and sacrifice. The contributions of the many Indigenous soldiers to serve our country in the past century cannot be overstated. They volunteered, often overcoming additional barriers such as having to learn new languages, adapt cultural differences, or travel great distances just to be able to enlist. The willingness to risk one's life for the service of others is something any police officer understands, respects, and admires. For answering the call of duty to protect us, despite great obstacles, we say thank you. It has been estimated as many as 12,000 First Nation, Métis, and Inuit peoples served in the great conflicts of the 20th century. While we don't know for certain exactly how many served, what we do know is the extent of their bravery, their skills, and their quality as soldiers. Indigenous soldiers were known to be adaptable, patient, have keen observation powers, stamina, and courage. Relying on their traditional tracking and navigating skills, many Indigenous men served as snipers or reconnaissance scouts and became some of the most valuable members of their units. For example, David George Greyeyes, a grain farmer from the Muskeg Lake Cree Band, excelled in machine gun and rifle use during the Second World War. He served on the battlefield as a lieutenant and platoon commander with the Saskatoon Light Infantry. He received the Greek Military Cross for valor for his help regaining the occupied town of Rimini in Italy, alongside the Greek Mountain Brigade. It will never be said enough. Indigenous patriotic service and skills greatly contributed and continue to contribute to Canadian military victories. Today, Indigenous men and women continue to serve in Canada's armed forces. 2 months ago, Statistics Canada estimated close to 30,000 Indigenous men and women across Canada are currently members or veterans of the Canadian military. It's more than twice the number of Indigenous men and women who served during the past century. Indigenous patriotism is very much alive. It is my honor to be here today and to acknowledge the current of the past and present Indigenous men and women who have dedicated and continue to dedicate their lives to defending us. Let us never forget their service and sacrifice. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call up First Nation University of Canada, Regina Student Association, Amanda Leader. Amanda?
Haumadagiabi Mitakanabi, Amanda Leader Imangiabi, Chegakin, Idana Makuda. Pinamea, I would like to say thank you to the elders and everyone that took part in lifting the pipe this morning and starting us off in a good way with prayers. We would also like to thank the singers for uplifting us today with an honor song and the Canadian anthem as well. On behalf of the First Nations University Students Association at the Regina campus, we want to express our gratitude to each and every one of you today for coming out and participating in today's ceremony, and most importantly, to the Indigenous and non-Indigenous veterans for the sacrifices that they made for us to be able to be here today. We would also like to give gratitude to those currently in service. We would also like to extend a thank you to the First Nations University of Canada for hosting this annual ceremony to remember and honor our veterans that made those sacrifices for us to be able to have the freedom to be able to be here today. My grandmother, Mary Gray Eyes, was the first Indigenous woman to enlist in the Canadian Armed Forces, and I am personally humbled and honored to be able to be here today to honor her and all the other veterans that fought for our freedom here in Canada. On behalf of the First Nations University of Canada Students Association, we would like to say thank you and thank you for being here with us today and honoring the veterans. Thanks.
Today, I'd also like to honor some retired members who are here from the RPS. Corporal Tracy Dunnigan, Staff Sergeant Michelle Jiraki, and Corporal Alan Vance. Today's a day to remember our Indigenous veterans who have gone on and the ones who are still here. We also acknowledge the ones who are still serving, who are out there to keep us free, and to honor them each and every day, and also for this great day here that we have every November. I'd like to acknowledge the veterans from Regina Police Service who have gone on and who are still out there, and also the serving members to be safe, to look after us. I acknowledge the veterans from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police who are no longer with us, and the ones who gave their lives for us out in our areas of rural areas of Saskatchewan. And also to those veterans who are still serving. We thank them, and we thank the serving members of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police to be here for us and to acknowledge this day that is so important in everyday life for us, to make us free. With that, I'd like to start the ceremony of laying of the wreaths on this beautiful day. And first of all, I'd like to call up Sergeant Chris Bird, Cowes First Nation, representing World War I, World War II veterans. Sergeant. On behalf of the Korean War veterans, I'd like to call up Dion Hassler to lay a wreath on behalf of those veterans who are long gone and some are still with us. Dion? On behalf of all women veterans who have gone on and the ones who are still here, I'd like to call up Commanding Officer, Assistant Commissioner Rhonda Blackmore to lay a wreath on their behalf. And to represent all peace officers in this great country of Canada, and to lay a wreath on their behalf, I'd like to call up Chief Evan Bray. On behalf of our elders, male and female, our knowledge keepers, again, some have gone on, and the ones who are still here, I'd like to call up Elder Sidney Kay to represent the lay the wreath. I'd like to call up Corporal Nathan Morasti to represent all our students and all our youth. The ones who make this building possible, the pursuit of post-secondary education, and the ones who are still out there in the high schools and the elementary schools. We remember them. I'd like to call up Dr. Jeff Keeshan, President of the University of Regina, to represent post-secondary institutions. And last, I'd like to call up Michael Cram, MP, Regina Wascana, representing the House of Commons. At this time, I'd like to get everyone to stand, please, for our honor song of why we're here today. Thank you, Eagle Claw. At this time, I'd like to invite the color party, the flag party, to come up here so we can dance our colors out. This will conclude our ceremony. And lunch will be after the color I put down. There'll be lunch here in the multi-purpose room here at 12 o'clock. And before we go, we wish every one of you a safe travel home, safe that you get home safe and sound to where you live, to your home fire. With that, we'll enter Eagle Claw. We thank you all for attending our ceremony today. Thank you very much. Thank you.